The government has published draft legislation which would require large companies to publish an annual sustainability report, including emissions estimates and climate-related financial risks. Once fully phased in, company directors will be held liable for ensuring the accuracy of the figures, cracking down on widespread greenwashing in current reports. Polly Hemming is the director of the Climate and Energy Programme with the Australia Institute and joins us now. Hi there, Polly. So what do you make of this proposal?
Hi there, Ros. It's very welcome that large companies in Australia are going to be required to report both the impact they're having on the climate and the risk that this poses to their viability. It's long overdue, and it's great that the government is formalising what has basically been a choose-your-own adventure for companies until now. The alarming part of the proposal is that the government is suggesting placing a 3-year moratorium on third-party litigation over misleading reporting and risk management by companies. And this is notionally because it's, this is such a new space and companies need time to get this right. But to be clear, sustainability reporting has been around for over 40 years. These are some of Australia's biggest companies with most sophisticated, operating procedures and some of Australia's biggest budgets. They're well aware of the climate crisis and they've been well aware of climate risk for some time. It's quite shocking that the government is proposing protecting some of Australia's biggest polluters from greenwashing litigation by the community.
So most large companies already produce sustainability reports, do they? And what exactly goes into them?
Yeah, most companies do produce some sort of sustainability report. As I said, it's a bit of a choose-your-own adventure in Australia in terms of what you have to report. Largely, the onus is on consumers and the community to verify what large companies are saying. Even companies who currently do have to report to the government aren't always being checked by relevant regulators. So there are some reporting requirements that exist currently in Australia for big polluters, but by and large, companies are pretty much free to choose what they disclose, what emissions they report, the impact they're having, and the climate targets that they set. There's nothing that is uniform or transparent in Australia currently.
And what proportion of companies are guilty of greenwashing then, Polly?
Well, it's hard to say where we're at now. The ACCC found last year, after doing an internet sweep of businesses, that around 50% of claims by businesses were what they described as concerning. So I would say there's probably about 50% of Australian businesses currently making some form of vague or opaque or misleading claim. But it's also a role, or a failure, I would say, of government here. There have never been any robust laws about greenwashing or requirements for reporting or impact on the environment. And so businesses have never really had the parameters, placed upon them that would have them be able, I suppose, to avoid greenwash. I'm not saying there's an excuse for it, but there's a role both for the private sector and government here.
So how big an appetite is there among investors then, Polly, to put money into companies that are sustainable and green and truthful?
Honestly, I think investors, while I'm sure most would like to say that they're investing in something that is green and sustainable, investors are likely to put money into anything that is going to bring a return. And that's why the role of government here is so important. And the government has acknowledged the role of the private sector in Australia meeting its climate targets. But if the government was to introduce robust emissions reduction requirements for industry, i.e. regulate polluting industries, then of course industry turns to those low emissions technologies or energy efficiency. And then all of a sudden it's those technologies, the renewable things, the green investments, the green technologies, that are going to bring a return for investors. And that's also where transparent reporting is so important. Because a lot of things like fossil hydrogen or carbon offsets or carbon capture and storage can make a company sound green, but once you look at the climate reporting, you can see that nothing is actually changing. It's business as usual. They're just able to call themselves clean. So, take at face value that investors do want to make clean investments or green investments. Then yes, this reporting is is very important. That transparency is very important. But the government actually needs to channel green investment. It can't just say the private sector or investors are going to help us meet our climate targets and then sit back.
So what sort of penalties would directors face for greenwashing? What's being proposed?
In terms of what sort of penalties directors will face, once phased in, directors will be fully liable for the accuracy of the figures that their companies are reporting, in the same way that they're currently liable for the other things that they report. In terms of what the full penalties will be, I haven't seen. I'm not aware of, what the full scale or the spectrum of penalties would be, but they would be similar in terms of, other misleading reporting in relation to tax or financial risk.
Polly Hemming, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for watching. If you like watching our videos, or if you learn something new, let us know by leaving a like. And if you share this video on your social media or send it to a friend, that really helps us to get the message out. See you next time.